Okay, well, I guess I will start and just accept people along the way. Um, so today we have a busy agenda. A lot of new things that we shipped. One that we shipped actually today is that we released our first now skills. And we are also going to show you a few new features in the UI and a new viewer mode. So now skills, it comes from the fact that many people that I talked to expressed the fact that it was quite, I mean, it was hard to know like what context to put in the agent, how to set it up properly, how to write good rules, how to write good tests. And as you might have seen, like I've done a lot of research on that in the last week. So I tried to put all the knowledge and all the findings that I had in some skills. So we built 5 different skills. I'm going to show you how they work, how you can use them. Um, and then the viewer mode is because some of you have deployed now and they want to share some things they built with now, but without letting business users asking more questions or accessing data that they should not have access to. So we built a viewer mode so that you can share things within now without having people doing chats in now. Okay, so for the now skills, I'm just going to do a bit of a demo of how it works. So I prepared a live demo for it. I hope it's going to go well. So I'll just share my other screen. See my screen? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So basically here, I have an empty folder and I just have the now skills set up. So if I look at the skill, there are several skills that we created. The first one is the setup context, which is meant to start a now project from scratch and help you set up the right context by just asking you some natural questions. Then we have the audit context skill, which is meant if you already have a now project, you want to challenge a bit the context that you already built. The right context rules, which is if you don't know how to write your rules.md and you want the agent to help you write rules.md with a good structure. Then create context tests. So this one is to help you create tests on the data that you have so that you can evaluate the agent with now framework. And the last one is add semantic layer, because some of you want to experiment with the semantic layer. So this is a skill to either import the semantic layer you have on dbt or cube or any other tool, or to create just semantic file that will enter in the context of now. Just accepting more people. Cool. So I'm going to live test the setup context one. Going to add setup context on a new now project. Christophe or Oscar, can you accept people coming or not?
No, I can't, but maybe it's because I didn't join with
Maybe
the correct
Oscar
link. I don't
can.
know.
Let me know so that I can. Yeah.
And I don't think I have the access
Okay,
to
I'll just
it.
multitask. Okay, well, so you see here, so I asked the setup context skill to help me set up a now project. So it just asks me what do I want to put in my now project. So basically, what is my warehouse, which table I want to put in the warehouse, and if I want to add some extra context, so maybe add a GPT repository, some Notion file, or any extra context, and to tell which model I will use. So I prepared what I wanted to use. Basically, just BigQuery table. I'm going to filter a bit more on the table because yesterday I did on full table and it was a bit too long. So yeah, just tables that we have on GitHub and our DBT project and a key from Anthropic. Okay, so basically it found my credential. Yeah, I'll just let it do. So yeah, I just gave a GPT project. It found it on my GitHub. Found BigQuery product ID that I'm using. And here, what it's going to do, okay, it's going to initialize the now project, and then it's going to create the now config YAML file. So if it's kind of hard for you like to write the now config file, this skill can also help you write the right config depending on what you want to put in the context. Okay, so I initialize manually. We'll fix that later. Okay, and so I run now init, but deleted the config. So let's see, it's probably going to just rebuild the now config in the project that I initialized. Let's see if it can find. Okay. So yeah, so it's going to replicate the now config. Here I just did a now init with empty answers, and it recreated the config. Okay, so now I'll have it run now sync. And maybe I can check here already what was created. So here, yeah, the agent could create the now config, put everything that I gave it, and it's going to run a first synchronization. Okay, let's find it on the table. So that's, let's say that's the easy part of like running the CLI. This just solves the creation of the now config YAML, which can sometimes be a bit hard to understand. And I think the last step, which is really adding value on your existing setup, is to help you write these rules.md. So in the skills, if I can show you skills. No, I cannot show the hidden file. Maybe I'll just
Go
show
at
you
the top on your skill, I think, and you can open it.
in
No,
what?
in the conversation, when you mention the skill. Oh no.
No, but I just like share another screen while it runs to show you the structure of the rules that we're creating. Okay. So this is the structure of the rules.md that we create. It's 6 different sections. The first is a business overview. So to create that, the agent can search on the internet about your company. It also can search what's inside your synchronized data, what's in your DBT model to understand a bit what are the different business components and what you do. Then it writes a section on data architecture. So looking at your DBT layers, it's going to describe what are the different data layers that you have, what are the different data sources that you have, to give more context to the agent on the scope of everything that's available. Then it's going to create a first section on core data model. So this one is going to list the most used table that appear on your synchronized tables, and give a detail of the most important columns and metrics from these tables. And this I found really speeds up the agent because it always know what are the most important tables. So if a table appears to be the good fit to answer a question, it's straight away going to query it or look at the specific documentation. So it's going to speed up a lot your agent. Same for metrics reference. This one is more a directory of which metric has which table as a source of truth and what is the formula behind it. So to build this, the agent is going to look at your existing DBT documentation, the columns in your table, and the semantic layer you have if you have one. Then one section describe how you want to filter dates. This seems a bit minor, but this ensures that every time you ask a question, it's the same definition for last X weeks, and that you always use a Monday or Sunday, that you always take into account the full week or not. So that's ensuring stability. And then there's a first proposal for what is the analysis process of understanding the question. selecting the right table, being efficient in the queries, and providing context for the end users. So that's the template we give in the now skill, and that's the skill that the agent will follow. So it's going to go through your existing synchronized context and create the rules from it. So I'll go back to my Claude window and see what it came up with. Okay, so it wrote the first rules, and now it's asking me, as I said, what are my preferences for date selection. So yeah, I'll just like say eyes a week. And you can see here the rules.md got filled with my context. So here I just synchronized GitHub data. So it actually found out from my DBT repository that I have different sources of data. It described all the GitHub tables that I have with the most important columns, and also the difference of. So here it inferred that what's important is number of stars, number of releases, number of issues, and it sorted everything by topic. So that will help a lot the agent to orchestrate a question to a specific table. So now I have my full context setup. So I'm just going to say run now chat and like not care about the filtering thing for now. And see. What do you mean? Okay. I don't think it is interactive though. Okay, then I guess I'll just do it myself. Okay. It's running. Okay, so I will switch my screen. It's here. Okay, so let's see if it works. Yes, I need to enter my API key. It was not saved from last time, so I'll just enter it. Cool. So yeah, so now I'm just going to test if the context setup worked right. So I just ask create a story on GitHub stars and see if it could pick up all the context. So yeah, you see here, as I worked a lot on the rules.md, it could know from the starts like which table to go querying. And it was very fast on just like running a bunch of queries and directly going to creating some charts. And yeah, finding the right source of truth for the queries, for the metrics that I have. So that's the first flow for creating now context. I don't know if you have some question on these skills or on the example we just shown. Oh, okay. So maybe I'll just show the next skill, which is how to help you create some tests. So back to Claude. Okay, so the next step when you set up your now context is to add some tests. So to help you kickstart the test system, yes, semantic model, we will try to go there. So yeah, here I can just say context, create context tests. And what this skills does is that it's going to check what are the most important metric, and the rules that it's going to follow is try to create at least one test by metric. And it's going to follow guidelines to make the prompt of the test vague enough so that it can replicate user behavior, do not leak in the answer in the question, and these kind of things. Yeah, just do whatever. just let it figure out. But obviously, the goal here is more that it's going to suggest some test sets for you, and then you can make sure that the query is right, and also like enrich with some queries you already have. And actually, that's what the agent does. It starts by asking you if you already have some source of truth queries. If yes, you can just like pass them to your agent, and then it's going to transform that into our test framework and run the now test to do it. Okay, certain tests is a lot. But yeah, you see the point here. For example, it's creating a first YAML test. So then you just need to review that the query is right, and that it covers all the main metrics that you have. And then the goal is that this skill can also run the now test command and give you a full report on the reliability of your tests. I mean, reliability of your agents. I think I'm not going to run the test here because it might be a bit, or maybe like run one test. Let's run one so that it's not too long, unless it still refuse to do so. Let's see. Maybe I can show you another one that I have done where I run the tests as well. Yeah. So this was a previous example that I've done where I created now test, and here it run the now test command. And in the end, it just does a recap of the percentage of right answers or not, and also does a diagnosis of the failures, and tells you like why the context was not enough so that the agent answers. And then you can loop with the agent of why the test failed and improve the context accordingly. So that was for the tests. I think last thing I want to show you, because maybe most of you are currently in this situation, already have a now project. Yeah. You already have a now project and you wonder how good it is. So for example, if I open an existing project that I have, I'm just going to call the audit context skill. And this one is going to, well, maybe I'll launch it before and then explain it. The audit context, my project, I have one called Hacker News, which is just like scrapped Hacker News data. So yeah, basically the skill is going to check how much data do you have in your project and how well it is covered by context. So let's say if you have put like 1,000 table, but don't really have any context on it, didn't synchronize the context, or don't have docs for some tables, it's going to flag that. It's also going to help you improve the rules that you have created on top of your synchronized context. And it's going to suggest a plan to improve your context. It's even going to check on your data model if it can find some ambiguity. So let's say if you have some metrics that are quite similar and that would need some clarification, it's going to flag that. And final thing that it does, if you do have tests and that you have already run them, it's going to go through the last test outputs to see where the agent fails and to suggest some improvements of the context. Okay, so here, yeah, I have licked my API key. That's very bad. So yeah, it found that I don't have any repository semantics. I have issues on my profiling and description of table, and yeah, I already improved the rules.md, I think, with this skill, so it's finding good quality. And it's context coverage by table. So you see for each table, it's going to check if you have some docs in dbt, if you have some documentation in your rules, some description, if you have synchronized context on them. and giving you at the end a plan to improve the context that you have currently. So yeah, you can battle test that and against your existing now project. Yeah, sorry I didn't mention that, but you can install now skills with npx skills, like the command that Christoph wrote in the chat. So it's quite easy to install and to test the skills. And so maybe the final skill that we created, where we are less opinionated, I guess, is just to help you add a semantic layer if you want to add a semantic layer. So this skill is basically going to ask you what semantic layer you want to add. Yeah. So yeah, I put this rule where it says, like, don't add a semantic layer until you have run some tests and you are sure you need to add a semantic layer. So maybe this is opinionated after all. But yeah, I'll just go anyway. Yes, add it. But yeah, in this case, I have only 2 tables, so it doesn't really make sense, but we'll do this. So yeah, the first step is just like asking you what you want to add in terms of tool. That's what it should ask. Okay. No, okay. It's so that I didn't have any GPT project, so it just like decided for me that it's just going to create a semantic YAML. So basically, the choice that we did here is that if you want to use an external tool like Metricflow, Cube, or LookML, you can say that you're using that, and what the agent is going to do is that it's going to add the MCP to your semantic layer in the configuration of your project, and also in the rules, it's going to add some information to the agent to always query through the semantic layer. It's going to give some detail about what the tools, what tools to use to query through the semantic layer. And if you don't want to use a specific semantic layer, we are just going to create a semantic.yaml file, which is, oh, file could not be read. Okay. Show me an extract. So yeah, and the goal here is just to have a YAML file with the list of dimensions and metrics, because we thought that eventually just having this YAML file describing your metric definition and dimensions, even if you're not going to query it through a specific framework, is still adding some value to your agents. Yeah, so here is just a YAML file that will define dimensions and metrics, and it's not linked to any specific vendor. It's just there to add some context to your agents, and it's still going to look at it like any text file. So that's what it's for the skills. I don't know if you have any questions or maybe suggestion on what you wish you would see on top of these skills we created. Anyone is going to try the skills and audit their current context, or yeah. On it. Okay, Dennis. If you can live tell us what it says. Ooh, okay. Well, maybe in the next minutes, then you can give us some feedbacks of the outputs of this. That's cool.
Overall, it looks pretty good, but I have some contradictions and a lot of gaps. And apparently, I just gave it access to all the tables in my MART databases and not just the MART tables. So 96 tables instead of just 34. I guess that's gonna do something.
Yeah, that's a good insight. Okay, cool. Diego, you had a question?
No, I had a recommendation. So I was trying something very similar for a different project yesterday, and the person who wrote the skills for setting up the project had a wonderful idea of creating a JSON file with your progress. So as you set up and you go through every step, the custom agent, basically the orchestration, is remembering the steps that you've gone through and the mistakes or errors or gaps that you found, so that when you get to the next step, the recommendation is even more tailored to your learning path. I don't know if that makes sense here, but as soon as I saw a setup skill, I thought, okay, if I do this, then I might want to go to the next skill. And even this guy wrote some CLI or messages that popped up after the recommendation of, X step, so that you knew what came after. So as you are going through the steps, you know that, okay, the next step is, X, Y, Z. I have to think about, X, Y, Z, and so on. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, what you're talking about is kind of a memory for your agent setup in some way.
Right.
So I think it makes sense. I think the question is more like, where are you going to store it? Like, if you do that, that could be like a .md, memory.md in your now file, but then you don't want it to be in the context of users when they use now. So you would need to put it in the now in your maybe like. But yeah, we can think of something like this. Dora, you had a question?
Not a question, also a comment. So I wanted to say that the rules MD file that you came up with is such a far cry from what I came up with. So I'm definitely using the skill to revisit that, because mine is just like a list of commands to boss and chat around, but like there's no structure and definitely not much context. And also some of those rules are around how to talk, what terms not to use, because in our industry, some terms have connotations and some are very ambiguous. So like there are things that I want chat to intentionally avoid. And we are now trying to add evals that test exactly that, not just like the SQL and numbers are correct, but that the way the narrative unfolds is also according to these rules. So I was thinking, as soon as we put these evals in place, we will do the context audit, then improve following the audit, and then see if the evals improved. So this is our plan, I guess, going forward. But like the rules MD is like a different level from what I came up with. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds good. I think like the goal also of doing all this with the CLI is that it helps you iterate a lot faster on the context. So the agent can actually go through the test results and itself suggest improvements of the context. So that's a first step towards doing auto learning of context. Cool. So next, I think I'm just going to show the new feature that we have released on the Now UI, which is to let people have just a viewer seat on your Now instance. So if I switch to Now, yes, it's local. Okay. So here, what I can do is when I want to add a user now, so in my team members, I can add people as a viewer. So here I added myself as a viewer on another email. And what I am going to do is I'm just going to share a story with that other person. So here I'm just sharing with this person who is a viewer. And now if I open my other tab, which is Second Claire, I have too many tabs now.
And also, I don't know if we already said it, but like when Claire shared the story, if you have SMTP configured on your now instance, the person should receive an email saying a story has been shared to you. Like if you have the SMTP that is configured.
Yeah, I didn't mention it. So yeah, so here I just refresh the page. I'm on the viewer mode, so I can see the data. I can see all the story, but I cannot chat with it, which means that I cannot get more information from the data or use any token more than what has already been shared with me. So yeah, that's quite helpful if you want people to just see what you have built, but maybe not themselves be able to query the data. So if you're in a transition mode where you want to test the agent, want to share what you build with the agent, but you're not really sure that you want people to build things on it for now because you still haven't like used those skills to improve context, then you can do this way of sharing. And a small last thing I wanted to show you today, we improved the filtering here. So you can filter, I mean, you can group your conversation by different elements, so the dates, different projects, if you have different projects, ownership to split your chats and shared chats, and the source, which is like conversation from Slack, from WhatsApp, from the UI. And you can also filter your conversation here. So it's easier for you to sort all the conversation on the left panel. I lost all of you. Okay. Well, I think that was all for the things we wanted to show you today. And as it is a tradition, I'll just follow
And
up.
also, if I just can add, because it's the community time, we changed something on the repo. If you do a pull request or an issue, now by default, the pull request or the issue will be closed. So first, if you create a pull request, the pull request will be closed, asking you to create an issue describing why you do this pull request. And then the issue will be also closed. And after, we can comment on the pull request and say, looks good to me or looks good to me issue. That will give you either the right to create an issue or either the right to create an issue and create a pull request. The reason we did this is to start like having a bit of control about the stuff that is coming in the repo, because we are moving also towards people deploying stuff in production. And also with all the supply chain attack and whatever, it's better like that we are a bit in control of all the workflow that comes in. And the second thing is this way we are less underwhelmed about some pull requests that are coming in large number, because sometimes we get like a lot of pull requests that are coming from one person, and we control a bit like the stuff that is coming in. The goal is not to restrict you from creating pull requests. It's more like giving some people the rights to do it and being able like to give trust to the people that are committing most often. Yeah. So don't be like disturbed if your pull request or your issue gets closed. The goal is like we reopen it if it makes sense and we chat about it. Yeah, Daria, if you
Christoph, can you talk a little bit, for those who never contributed to open source, how does the good issue looks like? How do you evaluate it? How do you make a decision? What should we put into the issue? Like how detailed it should be to look convincing, or it shouldn't?
Yeah, so this is something that I've written in the contributing.md, but I will answer also like here. So there are two kinds of issue, I would say. There is like bug report, and when you have like a bug report to do, try to be like the most explicit as you can, like to just describe the issue so we can understand. So Is it like on a Mac, on a Windows, on a Linux? Is it in this case or whatever? But try to find like the best context so we can understand. If we cannot, we will like chat on the issue to find like what is the context so we can reproduce, because when it's a bug, like what we need is something so we can reproduce the issue on our hand. And when it comes to other kind of issues that are like more improvement or features or stuff like this, the best is that you describe why you want it, what are the changes that you want, and what is like your context as well. I have added something in the contributing.md, which is, if possible, write the issue as a human with your own tone, rather than asking like a LLM to do it, because like to be honest, like reviewing a pull request or issues that have been written by LLMs all the day, it's a bit hard to find what are like the most important parts. So I prefer having like an issue that is like 2 or 3 sentences that is super explicit, than having like 10 paragraphs about the issue where I cannot find what the issue is talking about. So yeah, that's what it is, I would say. But it's to be honest, it's a bit of an experiment. We put this like this week, and maybe we'll roll back or tune the stuff as we move on, if it's too annoying or stuff like this. So and also like for the issues, so you know about from me, when I am answering issues on GitHub or writing pull requests, it's me writing the stuff as a human. I don't choose any agent to do it. And when it's an agent, most of the time you see it because it's like either cursor or the IO agent writing the stuff. And yeah, that's about like the life cycle of the repo. Yeah, maybe you want to add something there. I don't know.
No, I agree with what you said, and I try to write issues humanly now, but yeah. Or to make my agent sound human.
Yeah.
So yeah, just last thing, as we always share, this next weeks are really full of events. I think we got a bit crazy on that, but tonight is a London meetup. So if you are in London for some reason, like come to the meetup. It's going to be with Lightdash. There's going to be a lot of demo from people experimenting with agentic analytics. So it's going to be great. And next Tuesday, we are doing a new kind of event. We are throwing a freelancers hour. So the goal is to talk about how to build your offering around agentic analytics as a freelancer. So how to like upsell your existing customers on building agentic analytics. So we'll just cover the different solutions that we see freelancers implement and how now can be an open source option for your clients. And then we have a next Paris Hackathon next Wednesday. This one is already full, but if you are interested, you can still write because we already have people on the waitlist for the next hackathon. So reach out. And next community hours in 2 weeks and Berlin meetup in June. And if you have other wishes for events, may it be a meetup or a hackathon or anything, please reach out, because as you see, like we love organizing events. So yeah, to reach out. So yeah, if you have any question, I know Dennis, that we're going to organize an event in Denmark one day with you, because I think you've been pretty active on the Danish community.
I do what I can.
That's cool. Yeah, so any questions or maybe expectations, wish list of features, like whatever.
If you want, I can start like the teaser of the next features that we are working on at the moment. So at the moment, we are working on an MCP server. That is a bit of the following of the skill. The goal of the MCP server is for you to be able to call now from other places than now. So for instance, from your Cloud Code or Cursor or whatever, you could call now and ask now to answer a question, or ask now to run a SQL query, because what we found is that you have two choices. The first one is you either decide like to put the BigQuery MCP inside your agent, but it's not governed, or you can put now inside and get all the governance of what you have put in now. And then you get all the traceability and the audits in the now UI, but other agents can use now to do it. And yeah, and also you can also manage stories from an MCP. So for instance, if you have a BI tool and you want to migrate the stuff that you have in the BI tool and you want to put it in stories, this is stuff that you could do like from another agent. So you have an agent that connects to your BI tool, get all the knowledge, and then you push all this stuff inside Now Stories. This is like what's coming very soon, I would say like next week, the MCP server. Yeah, Dennis, if you want to react.
Yeah, no, just that sounds amazing. So, but what I've done currently, and I can also explain why. So I'm actually using the Neo context folders in my agents as well. So in Claude Code, I have like built my own skills for doing deep dive reports and so on, and that's automatically hooked up to the Neo context. So I don't need to have context in two places. And why I'm doing that? One thing, because I did it before. I stumbled upon Neo, but also because then I can use my personal account. Whereas using Neo, as I understand it at least, need to use the API, which of course come with an extra cost. But of course, I will get a lot more out of this MCP than what I can today with skills.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is also why we have also these two parts in Now, like the context engineering and the agent part, where you can use your context in some places that are even not in Now if you want. That's also why we built it this way.
That makes a lot of sense to me. That's why I actually started using Neo, because it's then open. So the context is open, right? I can use the same context throughout whatever I do. So it's not closed behind the Databricks Genie or something like that.
Cool. Manuel, you wanted to ask something?
I think it was already answered, but I will try to make it again. So do you imagine the MCP with Now reporting back to Claude and sending back any kind of information like SQL, but also visualizations and so on? Or do you filter something in the middle?
No, we have to see what technically is possible in a nice way, I would say. But the goal, so what you're saying is like you have like the MCP asking Now to do like some SQL or charts, and then you display it in your Cloud Code, for instance, right? Yeah. So for the SQL, it's so the MCP server will have multiple modes. One mode will be just asks Now, and you use Now as a subagent. This is one way. You have the second mode that is use tools. So you just use Now tools, but so Now expose like the execute SQL, Now expose the search on the context and stuff like this as tools for Cloud Code to run. And so this way you get like the answer of the execute SQL, or you get a chart if you have done a chart. And so to make it like more integrated, we are exploring like MCP apps and all the stuff that is like visually better integrated in Cloud Code. But this is not yet done on this part. We'll see what's possible with MCP apps and so on. So the way we see it when you use like MCP is that Now becomes your governance stuff when doing some AI on top of your data, because this way you have like everything that goes through the backend. So you can use like Now through the UI, through Slack, through any individual agents. And at the end, everything comes inside one UI with one governance that is like the Now backend for the admin.
Super interesting, but isn't that a risk that you stop using the Now UI at all?
Might be. This is something that we have to discover as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
In the end, like I think yeah, go ahead, Claire.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I talked to many people in the last weeks, and I always ask them this question of like, would you still want a UI, or are you eventually going to just use code? And their answers have been really various. Like, some people just want to stay in cloud code. Some people really need their UI and their old habits. So I think it just depends on people, and probably will evolve as well. But I think what we think also is that it's still, I mean, we still want to trans to show now UI within Cloud Code. So that's why we're exploring MCP app, because if you've experimented a bit with building artifacts in Cloud Code to create dashboards, it's always kind of different. Like, it's going to sometimes to create like a Python or like a HTML, and it's always going to look a bit different. So yes, you could create a skills to make it a bit more stable, but what we want is to create a UI that's always going to be the same, maybe interactive through the MCP app, and to be a component that will be used in Cloud Code.
And also, if I can add on top of this, Cloud Code is currently the leader. And if you bet everything on Cloud Code, at some point, maybe you will be stuck in a wall or vendor lock or whatever. Having the thing in now, which is agnostic regarding the model, can save you also on some issues later, because you have all your governance at one point, and you are not like dependent, and it's open source. And it means also that you are not dependent on some US company that decide the way the stuff should be done. And yeah, also regarding the UI, there are a lot of people that will not install a cloud desktop app or Cloud Code locally because, you know, like in companies, we are talking with company with thousands of people, and you will not be able to install it to everyone in the company. So the UI still makes sense at some point.
At least in the next year, and then we'll see.
And also, we think that with the experience that we want to give to people, there are stuff that will live in the UI that will not live in Cloud Code or Cloud Code, or that is not data specific, that this generic UI will never develop. So that's also like another answer.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great idea to have the NCP. I think it's
Yeah.
super handy and very necessary to have the UI to control, to manage your own stories and chats. What I was thinking is that giving the possibility to be hooked to any other, let's say, entry point, can be Cloud or can be ChatGPT or whatever it is, opens a wall of new visualizations. Creating HTML plus SVGs is super powerful, super fast. So it, as you said, Claire, we need the standards, of course, but this is super useful. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, in the end, if people want to do that, we need to provide them a way to do that, and the differentiation will still be the layer of context and the traceability as well.
Cool. And also, like, just a quick nudge. If you looked at the repo like this last week, we added Enterprise Edition. So if you look in detail what it is, the Enterprise Edition is mainly splitted like for the login, like everything that is Enterprise SSO and stuff like this. All this stuff gonna be like in the Enterprise Edition. Currently, the Enterprise Edition code is now public, but just the license on the Enterprise Edition files is a bit different. You can have a look if you're interested. And so, yeah, the goal is to split like between the open source and the enterprise at the stuff that is really enterprise. So login and user governance that is very detailed. So like having budget per user and stuff like this, rather than budget for the whole project. And yeah, this is stuff that we worked on. And the last thing that we will work on is like improving the stories and the charts. And this is gonna come in the next weeks, I would say. And when I say stories, like the way the stories are organized, like the story page, that can becomes like a bit hard to manage when you have a lot of stories. Cool. Any question? Any like feedbacks, stuff, whatever?
Nice. Well, I think we're good for today then. So thanks everyone for coming. We'll share the replay on YouTube and see you in 2 weeks or earlier if you're in one of the meetups.